At the entrance of the grand hall, anticipation hummed in the air like electricity before a storm. The venue, a stately mansion converted into a space for elite soirees, gleamed under the evening lights. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the guests dressed in their finest attire, mingling and exchanging pleasantries beneath gilded ceilings. Among the crowd, Michelle Obama arrived with quiet confidence, her presence radiating a calm dignity that seemed to draw the eye without effort. Moments after stepping onto the polished marble steps, Michelle was gently halted by a security guard stationed by the heavy oak doors. The guard, a middle-aged man with a stoic expression and tight-lipped professionalism, glanced at her with a cautious eye. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'll need you to wait outside for a moment," he said, gesturing toward a velvet rope that cordoned off the entrance. Michelle blinked in surprise. Her composed demeanor didn't falter, but a flicker of confusion crossed her face. She looked around, noting the guests inside, many of whom were being warmly welcomed by hosts and ushered toward the grand ballroom. Yet here she stood, asked to remain outside, her invitation seemingly overlooked or dismissed. The guard's posture remained firm but respectful. "There's a verification process for all guests tonight. Please understand the security protocols." Michelle nodded slowly, her voice steady as she replied, "Of course, I'll wait." There was no indignation in her tone, only a poised acceptance of the moment's awkwardness. She stepped back, settling near a marble column beneath a lantern that flickered softly against the night. The scene at the door drew subtle glances from passers-by. Some whispered, others stared, curiosity mingling with a touch of discomfort. The juxtaposition of Michelle's calm grace against the chilly treatment she received was stark. Those who recognized her identity might have been shocked, but those who did not saw only another guest held at bay. Inside, the event thrummed with exclusivity. Invitations had been meticulously vetted, and security was tight, designed to shield the gathering from any uninvited interruptions. The staff operated on a system that prioritized visual confirmation and guest lists, relying heavily on familiarity and appearance. In this system, the unexpected presence of a figure like Michelle, who defied simplistic categorization, caused momentary confusion. As she waited, Michelle's thoughts remained composed. The cool night air brushed against her skin, yet she stood steady, embodying a quiet resilience. She understood that this moment, while seemingly minor, reflected a deeper issue: how identity and recognition intersect with assumptions and societal perceptions. The guard returned after a brief pause, accompanied by an event coordinator who approached with an apologetic smile. "Ma'am, we've just confirmed your identity. Please accept our apologies for the delay. We're honored to welcome you." Michelle's response was graceful, her smile genuine yet measured. "Thank you," she said softly, stepping forward as the velvet rope was lifted. The warmth of the interior enveloped her as the doors swung open, and the previous chill of exclusion began to dissipate. The incident, brief as it was, left a ripple beneath the surface of the evening's polished veneer. It revealed the fragility of recognition and respect, even for those who carry the weight of prominence and accomplishment. The initial ignorance, unintentional though it may have been, underscored how easily appearances can mislead. Among the staff, murmurs of realization passed as identities were cross-checked and names confirmed. The event organizers exchanged looks, silently acknowledging the oversight. Michelle walked past them with her usual poise, embodying the grace that had become synonymous with her public persona. Guests inside, some noticing the delayed welcome, whispered among themselves. The atmosphere subtly shifted, as if the room collectively recognized that something important had transpired, an unspoken lesson in humility and the hazards of assumption. Michelle's composure throughout the ordeal spoke volumes. She neither demanded immediate redress nor displayed visible frustration. Instead, her quiet dignity set the tone for what was to come. A story not of humiliation, but of resilience and the complex dance between identity and perception. As she entered the main hall, the gentle murmur of conversation softened momentarily, a collective breath held in respect. The grandeur of the space, the glittering chandeliers, and the elegant guests faded briefly into the background, as the presence of a woman who had navigated far greater challenges quietly reminded everyone of the power of grace under pressure. This opening moment, marked by confusion and correction, laid the groundwork for a deeper exploration of recognition, not just as a matter of name and face, but as an acknowledgement of humanity and worth. The evening, poised to celebrate achievement and connection, had unexpectedly become a subtle reflection on the barriers that still exist when perception falls short of truth. Michelle's experience at the threshold of the event was a quiet testament to the endurance of dignity amid oversight. It was a reminder that even in the most refined settings, the simple act of seeing and honoring one's identity can falter, revealing the gaps that remain in collective awareness. The security guard, now visibly relieved, offered a respectful nod as Michelle passed. The event coordinator, a young woman with a tentative smile, followed closely, ready to ensure that the remainder of Michelle's evening would be met with the respect and recognition she deserved. As the doors closed softly behind her, the initial moment of exclusion was left outside, replaced by a renewed sense of welcome within. Michelle's presence, marked by that delicate balance of strength and grace, began to weave itself into the fabric of the evening, promising that this night would be remembered not for its misstep, but for the quiet dignity that prevailed. Inside the grand hall, the atmosphere shifted subtly as the realization dawned on the event's key organizers and security team. The moment Michelle Obama had been asked to wait outside became a quiet point of reckoning, an unsettling reminder that even the most meticulous systems could falter, and that recognition was not always automatic, no matter one's stature. The event coordinator, a young woman named Claire, hovered nearby with an apologetic expression etched across her face. "We sincerely apologize for the delay," she said softly, her voice laced with genuine regret. "There was a mix-up in the guest list verification. We didn't immediately recognize you." Her words hung in the air, a fragile attempt to bridge the unintended slight. Michelle's response was marked by calm dignity. She offered a gentle smile, nodding in acknowledgement. "I understand," she said quietly, the grace in her tone conveying that she bore no ill will. "Mistakes happen." Her composure was unshakable, as if the moment's awkwardness had been carefully folded into a broader understanding of the complexities at play. Behind the scenes, the security chief conferred with his team. "We missed the cue," he admitted to Claire, his voice low but tinged with frustration. "She wasn't on the list in the expected spot, and the description didn't match our expectations. We should have double-checked sooner." Claire nodded, her brow furrowed. "It's a lesson in assumptions," she mused. "We rely so heavily on appearances and names, but sometimes we forget that identity isn't always immediately visible." As Michelle was escorted further into the hall, the staff's demeanor shifted from formal distance to genuine respect. The earlier hesitation gave way to renewed attentiveness. A few of the senior event organizers approached her, offering warm greetings and assurances that her presence was not only recognized but deeply valued. One of them, a man in his 50s with a kind smile, extended his hand. "Mrs. Obama, we are honored to have you here. Please forgive the earlier confusion. It was never our intention to cause any discomfort." Michelle accepted the handshake with a composed nod. "Thank you. I appreciate your words," she replied. Her tone was measured, conveying both appreciation and a subtle reminder of the importance of awareness. The guests around her, some of whom had noticed the brief delay, now turned their attention toward her with renewed interest. Conversations paused momentarily, and eyes met hers with a mixture of admiration and reflection. The hall, which had been abuzz with polite chatter, seemed to acknowledge the moment's significance without words. Michelle took a deep breath, settling into the space with the same poise that had defined her public life. She understood that this incident, while minor in the grand scheme, was emblematic of broader social dynamics, how easily individuals could be misjudged or overlooked based on surface impressions. Her presence became a quiet catalyst for change within the evening's proceedings. As she moved through the room, she greeted a few familiar faces with warmth, her demeanor inviting connection rather than confrontation. The earlier tension dissolved, replaced by an atmosphere tinged with respect and renewed attentiveness. A young staff member, nervously clutching a clipboard, approached hesitantly. "Mrs. Obama, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to let me know," she offered, eyes wide with a mix of admiration and apology. Michelle smiled gently. "Thank you. "That means a great deal," she said, her words soft but sincere. The exchange, brief as it was, underscored the subtle shifts occurring within the event's microcosm, a movement from oversight to recognition. Throughout, Michelle remained mindful of the delicate balance between addressing the misstep and maintaining the evening's spirit. She chose not to dwell publicly on the discomfort she had experienced but rather to embody the resilience and dignity that had become her hallmark. Her composed reaction did not go unnoticed. Nearby guests exchanged glances, some whispering reflections on how easily misjudgments could occur even in the most refined settings. The incident sparked an unspoken dialogue about awareness, bias, and the importance of seeing beyond first impressions. Meanwhile, the event organizers convened quietly in a side room, acknowledging the need for improved protocols. "We must ensure this doesn't happen again," Claire insisted. "Our training needs to emphasize that recognition goes beyond checklists and photos. It's about understanding the people behind the names." The security chief nodded in agreement. "We'll review our procedures immediately." This was a wake-up call. Back in the hall, Michelle's grace anchored the evening's unfolding narrative. She mingled with guests, her laughter light and genuine, her presence a steady reminder of the strength found in dignity. The initial misunderstanding receded into the background, replaced by the warmth of shared humanity. As a respected figure accustomed to scrutiny, Michelle's ability to navigate the situation with poise elevated the experience for all present. She transformed a moment of exclusion into an opportunity for reflection and growth, demonstrating that respect and recognition must be continually earned and renewed. Her example resonated particularly with the younger attendees who observed the unfolding events with keen interest. They saw not just a former First Lady but a woman embodying grace under pressure, turning an awkward moment into a powerful testament to character. The evening's program proceeded with renewed energy, the earlier disruption serving as a subtle undercurrent rather than a distraction. The speakers who followed referenced the importance of inclusion and awareness, their words seemingly informed by the night's earlier events. Michelle listened attentively, her presence a quiet affirmation of those ideals. She understood that the incident was more than a simple oversight, it was a mirror reflecting societal challenges around identity, perception, and the need for vigilance against unconscious bias. As conversations flowed and glasses clinked, the recognition that had been momentarily withheld became a shared commitment among the event's organizers and attendees. The incident prompted a collective acknowledgement that respect must be intentional, extending beyond formal invitations to genuine understanding. In the quiet moments between speeches, Michelle found herself engaged in thoughtful exchanges about the nuances of identity and recognition. She spoke softly but with conviction, emphasizing that acknowledgement was not merely about fame or status but about honoring the full humanity of each individual. Her words resonated, planting seeds of awareness that would ripple beyond the evening's confines. The initial misunderstanding, once a source of exclusion, had become a catalyst for dialogue and reflection carried forward by the very grace Michelle displayed. As the night deepened and the event drew toward its crescendo, the atmosphere was transformed. What began as a moment of oversight became an emblem of the power of respect reclaimed through understanding and integrity. Michelle's composed acceptance and the subsequent shift in attitudes underscored a fundamental truth that recognition is not simply a matter of protocol but a reflection of collective conscience. Her experience, quietly endured and gracefully met, illuminated the ongoing work required to bridge gaps in perception and foster genuine inclusion. The staff, now keenly aware of their earlier lapse, moved with renewed purpose, ensuring that every guest received the honor and acknowledgement they deserved. The event's tone, marked by elegance and sincerity, reflected this commitment. For Michelle, the evening was a reminder that dignity need not be contingent on others' recognition. Yet, the moment also highlighted the importance of vigilance in dismantling the assumptions that obscure identity and respect. Her presence within the hall, once delayed and questioned, now stood as a quiet testament to resilience and the enduring power of grace, a beacon for those who understood the subtle yet profound impact of being truly seen. The grandeur of the venue was unmistakable, a sprawling mansion nestled amidst manicured gardens, its towering windows reflecting the soft glow of twilight. Inside, the event was the epitome of exclusivity, a carefully curated gathering of influential figures from politics, business, and the arts. Invitations had been dispatched months prior, each guest vetted through layers of protocol designed to preserve an atmosphere of refinement and security. The security framework was a fortress of precision. Multiple checkpoints, guest lists meticulously cross-referenced, and teams of vigilant personnel ensured that every individual was accounted for and properly identified. Yet, within this rigid system, the evening's earlier misstep, the moment Michelle Obama was asked to wait outside, cast a revealing light on the complexities underlying such arrangements. The staff, a blend of seasoned veterans and eager newcomers, operated under strict guidelines. Their instructions emphasized the importance of appearance-matching identification, a safeguard against imposters but also a narrow lens through which identity was assessed. This reliance on surface markers sometimes bred inadvertent misjudgments, as had been painfully demonstrated. Among the staff was Claire, the event coordinator, whose role was both logistical and diplomatic. She had arrived early that evening, clipboard in hand, navigating the delicate balance of orchestrating an event where every detail mattered. The mix-up with Michelle's arrival unsettled her, prompting a quiet introspection about the procedures she had helped enforce. "I never imagined this could happen here," Claire confessed later to a colleague. "We pride ourselves on knowing exactly who each guest is, but tonight showed me how fragile that certainty really is." The incident rippled through the ranks, sparking conversations about assumptions and the limits of protocol. Some staff members, particularly those newer to the team, expressed confusion over how someone of Michelle's stature could be misidentified. "I thought I knew what to look for," one security guard admitted, "but it seems appearances can be deceiving." Within the guest area, the social dynamics were as intricate as the chandeliers overhead. The event was as much about networking and image as it was celebration. Conversations were laced with subtext, alliances subtly formed and tested beneath layers of civility. In this milieu, the delay in recognizing Michelle's identity was a breach in the expected flow, a reminder that even the most polished settings were not immune to human error. Her presence, initially met with hesitation, soon became a focal point for reflection among those attuned to the nuances of inclusion. Several guests who had arrived early noted the moment of tension near the entrance. Some whispered about the implications, recognizing that the incident was emblematic of broader societal tendencies to make snap judgments based on appearance. Others expressed surprise that such an oversight could occur in a context so meticulously managed. Among the attendees was Jonathan, a seasoned political analyst with a sharp eye for the interplay of image and identity. Observing the scene, he mused quietly to a colleague, "This isn't just about a missed name on a list. It's about the assumptions we carry, the mental templates that shape how we see others." The staff's reactions varied. Senior personnel displayed a mix of concern and determination to rectify the misstep, while junior members grappled with the discomfort of having been part of a situation that contradicted their expectations of professionalism. Claire took it upon herself to address the team. "This event is about more than just security and logistics," she reminded them. "It's about respect and understanding. We must be vigilant not just with our procedures but with our perceptions." Her words resonated, prompting a renewed commitment to training and awareness. The staff recognized that their roles extended beyond enforcing rules to embodying principles of inclusivity and recognition. Meanwhile, Michelle, aware of the undercurrents, navigated the event with a quiet grace that belied the earlier confusion. She engaged with guests, her conversations thoughtful and warm, bridging gaps and inviting dialogue. Her presence became a living testament to the complexities of identity, how it was both seen and unseen, acknowledged and overlooked. Throughout the evening, subtle moments highlighted these dynamics. A server hesitated before approaching her table, then smiled warmly once reassured. A group of guests nearby exchanged reflective glances, their discussions touching on the themes of visibility and respect. The contrast between the event's polished exterior and the human imperfections beneath became increasingly apparent. The very protocols designed to ensure order inadvertently revealed the blind spots inherent in relying solely on external markers. As the night progressed, the organizers implemented discreet adjustments. Additional staff were briefed to approach guests with openness rather than rigid suspicion. The tone shifted from gatekeeping to welcoming, fostering an environment where recognition was more attentive and nuanced. In a quiet corner, Claire observed these changes with a mixture of relief and resolve. The incident had exposed vulnerabilities in their approach, but it also opened a pathway to growth. "We have to do better," she thought, "not just for this event, but for every gathering that depends on truly seeing the people who walk through these doors." The social fabric of the evening reflected this evolving awareness. Conversations grew more candid, with attendees sharing personal stories about moments when their identities had been misunderstood or dismissed. These exchanges fostered empathy and a deeper appreciation for the layers that compose individual experience. For Michelle, the night was a microcosm of a larger reality, how appearances could deceive, how assumptions could obscure, and how grace could transform misunderstanding into opportunity. Her composed presence served as a quiet challenge to the event's initial misstep, inviting all to reconsider the lenses through which they viewed others. The staff's response to the incident became a subtle but meaningful part of the evening's narrative. Their willingness to acknowledge errors and adapt protocols signaled a commitment to inclusivity that transcended mere formality. Guests, staff, and organizers alike found themselves reflecting on the delicate balance between security and humanity. The event, intended as a celebration, had evolved into a space for contemplation about identity, perception, and the power of recognition. In this carefully controlled environment, the interplay of social dynamics and procedural rigor revealed the complexities that underlie even the most exclusive gatherings. The incident with Michelle Obama was a catalyst, illuminating the need for vigilance not only in verifying names but in honoring personhood. As the chandeliers cast their shimmering light across the hall, the event unfolded with renewed purpose. The initial oversight became a quiet lesson etched into the evening's fabric, a reminder that true recognition requires more than a guest list and a glance. It demands presence, awareness, and respect. The staff, now more attuned to these subtleties, moved through their roles with heightened sensitivity. Their interactions were marked by a gentler attentiveness, a recognition that every individual carried a story beyond the surface. Meanwhile, Michelle continued to engage with the room, her demeanor a steady beacon amid the shifting currents. Her experience underscored the importance of seeing beyond appearances and embracing the complexity of identity in all its forms. The event's exclusivity remained intact, but beneath the glittering surface, a transformation was quietly underway, a subtle re-examination of how recognition and respect are extended within spaces defined by tradition and protocol. In this moment, the mingling of social dynamics and strict security measures revealed a shared humanity. The evening's unfolding narrative became not just a celebration of achievement but an invitation to look more deeply, to listen more carefully, and to honor the fullness of every person's presence. The soft murmur of conversation drifted through the grand hall as Michelle found a quiet corner near a tall window, the delicate lace curtains filtering the glow of the crystal chandeliers into a gentle haze. She stood there for a moment, hands loosely clasped, eyes scanning the gathering with a calm and contemplative gaze. The earlier moments of uncertainty lingered in her mind, not as a source of frustration but as a quiet invitation to reflect on the complexities of identity and perception. Outside, the evening air was crisp and carried the faint scent of blooming jasmine from the manicured gardens. Inside, the warm atmosphere of the event contrasted with the coolness of the night, mirroring the tension between inclusion and exclusion that had briefly unfolded at the entrance. Michelle's thoughts drifted to the nature of recognition itself, how it was rarely as simple as the exchange of names or the glance at an invitation. Identity was an intricate tapestry woven from experience, character, and history far beyond the surface markers that often guide first impressions. She understood all too well how appearances could deceive, how assumptions could obscure the truth beneath. As she stood there, a young event assistant approached hesitantly, her steps tentative but respectful. "Mrs. Obama," she began softly, "I just wanted to say thank you for your grace tonight. It's been a learning moment for many of us." Her eyes reflected a mixture of admiration and newfound awareness. Michelle offered a warm smile. "Thank you. It's important that we all remain open to learning and growing," she replied, her voice steady and sincere. "Recognition isn't just about knowing a name, it's about seeing the person behind it." The assistant nodded, encouraged. "Sometimes we get caught up in protocols and checklists and forget the human side." "That's exactly it," Michelle said, her gaze returning to the room. "When we see beyond the surface, we honor the full dignity of each individual." In that moment, the event's rigid framework, the meticulously organized guest lists, the security protocols, the formal procedures felt less like barriers and more like structures in need of flexibility and empathy. The incident at the door had exposed a blind spot, a reminder that identity cannot be neatly packaged or confined to expectations. Michelle reflected on the countless times she had encountered similar moments when her presence was met with surprise, skepticism, or even dismissal simply because she did not fit the preconceived notions held by others. Each experience had shaped her understanding of resilience and the necessity of grace. Around her, the hall buzzed with the gentle energy of connection. Guests moved through clusters of conversation, laughter mingling with thoughtful exchanges. The initial tension of the evening had softened, replaced by a collective willingness to engage more deeply with the themes of inclusion and respect. Michelle's own awareness sharpened as she observed these interactions. She recognized a subtle shift taking place, not just in the event's atmosphere, but within herself. The momentary exclusion she had faced was a catalyst for a renewed commitment to the power of presence and the importance of challenging assumptions. She recalled a phrase often repeated in her speeches: when they go low, we go high. Tonight, that mantra took on a nuanced meaning. It was not merely about rising above adversity, but about lifting others through understanding and compassion. As she moved away from the window, Michelle found herself drawn into conversations that echoed these sentiments. A young artist spoke passionately about representation and the need for visibility beyond tokenism. A community leader shared stories of grassroots efforts to foster inclusion in diverse neighborhoods. Each dialogue reinforced the interconnectedness of identity and the responsibility to nurture empathy. In these exchanges, Michelle's poise was both anchor and catalyst. Her ability to listen deeply, to respond with thoughtful insight, invited others to explore their own perceptions and biases. The room, once segmented by hierarchy and protocol, began to feel more like a shared space of reflection and growth. Yet beneath the surface, Michelle remained keenly aware of the subtle undercurrents that influence how individuals are perceived and treated. She understood that recognition was not always a straightforward gift, but often a hard-won achievement. Her experience at the entrance earlier that evening was a microcosm of a larger societal challenge: the tension between appearance and reality, between expectation and truth. It revealed how identity could be obscured by assumptions and how dignity depended on the willingness of others to look beyond the superficial. This awareness fueled a quiet determination within her. She saw the potential for moments like these to become turning points, opportunities to challenge ingrained biases and to foster a culture of genuine respect. As the evening progressed, Michelle took deliberate steps to embody this vision. She engaged with guests across generations and backgrounds, bridging divides with openness and warmth. Her presence became a living lesson in the power of grace to transform misunderstanding into connection. In a brief pause between conversations, she glanced around the room, noting the subtle ways in which the event's tone had evolved. The staff moved with greater attentiveness, guests listened with heightened sensitivity, and the collective energy had shifted toward inclusivity. Michelle's reflections extended beyond the walls of the mansion. She considered how these dynamics played out in broader society, where identity is often flattened into stereotypes and where the struggle for recognition is ongoing. Her own journey, marked by public scrutiny and private challenges, had taught her the vital importance of presence, the ability to assert one's identity with confidence and dignity even when others fail to recognize it. In that moment, standing amid the swirling conversations and shimmering light, Michelle embodied the very principle she espoused. Her grace was not a passive acceptance but an active force, a commitment to being seen fully and to seeing others in their fullness. The incident at the entrance, initially a source of discomfort, had become a quiet catalyst for reflection and change. It underscored the necessity of vigilance against assumptions and the power of empathy to bridge gaps in understanding. As the evening wore on, Michelle's thoughts settled into a steady rhythm, each moment reinforcing the lesson that recognition is more than a formality, it is a fundamental act of humanity. Her poise, cultivated over years of public life, was now a beacon for those around her. It invited a deeper awareness, a call to move beyond surface judgments and to honor the complexity that defines each individual. The soft clink of glasses and the murmur of voices created a backdrop for this unfolding transformation. The event, once defined by exclusivity and rigid protocol, had blossomed into a space where presence and identity were honored with renewed clarity. Michelle's experience served as a reminder that even amidst the most polished settings, the work of recognition is ongoing. It requires patience, humility, and a willingness to confront the biases that shape perception. As she rejoined the gathering, her smile warm and genuine, it was clear that her quiet strength had left an indelible mark. The evening's earlier misstep had been met not with bitterness but with grace, turning a moment of exclusion into an opportunity for connection. In this way, Michelle's presence transcended the immediate event. It became a living example of how dignity and awareness can coexist, how identity can be both affirmed and celebrated, and how the simple act of truly seeing one another can transform even the most formal of occasions. Amidst the elegant swirl of the evening, a young event coordinator named Alex moved quietly but purposefully through the crowd. Fresh-faced and earnest, Alex had only recently joined the team but already possessed a keen awareness that went beyond checklists and schedules. When the confusion at the entrance unfolded just hours earlier, it was Alex who had first sensed that something was amiss. As the security guard politely asked Michelle Obama to wait outside, Alex's instincts flared. The hesitation in the guard's voice, the subtle tension in the air, it struck Alex as wrong. Without fully understanding why, Alex felt compelled to intervene. "Excuse me," Alex had said softly but firmly, approaching the guard with a steady gaze. I believe that's Mrs. Obama. We should verify her identity immediately. The guard had hesitated, bound by protocol yet uncertain, before radioing the event manager for confirmation. That moment had crystallized in Alex's mind, a testament to the power of attentiveness and the courage to speak up. Now, as the evening unfolded, Alex sought out Michelle, hoping to offer a more personal acknowledgement. Finding Michelle near the ornate staircase, Alex approached with a tentative smile. Mrs. Obama, I just wanted to say how sorry I am for the confusion earlier, Alex began, voice low but sincere. It was wrong to make you wait outside. I didn't want you to feel unwelcome. Michelle turned toward Alex, her expression warm but composed. Thank you, she replied softly. I appreciate that. It means a great deal when someone notices and acts with kindness. Their brief exchange was charged with unspoken understanding. Alex felt a surge of responsibility, not just for the mishap but for the broader lesson it embodied. It made me realize how important it is to truly see every guest, beyond just names on a list or appearances, Alex confessed. We have to do better. Michelle nodded thoughtfully. Recognition is more than a formality, she said. It's about honoring the person in front of you. Sometimes that requires us to challenge our assumptions. As the conversation continued, a subtle bond formed. Alex's youthful earnestness and Michelle's seasoned grace created a bridge between experience and aspiration. The moment underscored the impact of allyship, the quiet yet powerful act of standing up for what is right, even when it might be easier to stay silent. Elsewhere in the hall, the staff were already grappling with the implications of the earlier incident. The confusion had exposed gaps in training and awareness, prompting urgent discussions about how to prevent similar oversights. Claire, the event coordinator, convened a quick meeting with key team members. We need to ensure that every guest is recognized and welcomed properly, she urged. That means going beyond the checklist, listening, observing, and being willing to question our own biases. Alex spoke up, recounting the moment with Michelle. Sometimes it's about trusting your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is, Alex said. We have to empower everyone here to act on that, no matter their role. The team agreed, acknowledging that allyship was not just a concept but a necessary practice. It required attentiveness, courage, and a commitment to inclusivity that transcended protocol. Back near the main hall, Michelle continued to engage with guests, her presence a steadying influence. She was approached by a group of young professionals who had heard about the earlier confusion and expressed admiration for her composed response. Your grace in handling that moment was inspiring, one of them remarked. It reminded us how important it is to stand strong without losing kindness. Michelle smiled. Thank you, she said. We all have moments when we must choose how to respond. I believe that kindness and strength are not mutually exclusive, they can and should coexist. Her words resonated deeply, sparking conversations about the power of allyship and the role each person plays in fostering respect. The guests reflected on their own experiences, sharing stories of times they had either witnessed or enjoyed the support of allies in challenging situations. Meanwhile, Alex found themselves drawn into these dialogues, their initial uncertainty transformed into a growing confidence. The realization that a simple act of recognition could ripple outward, influencing attitudes and behaviors, was both humbling and empowering. The shift in the event's atmosphere was palpable. What had begun as a moment of exclusion evolved into an opportunity for connection and growth. The staff's renewed dedication to awareness and the guests' open conversations about allyship created a collective momentum toward greater inclusivity. In a quiet moment, Alex confided to Michelle, I hope this experience helps us all become better, not just tonight, but going forward. Michelle regarded Alex with a look of genuine respect. It already has, she said. Your willingness to speak up made all the difference. Allyship often starts with small acts, recognizing someone's worth, standing beside them when it matters. Their exchange encapsulated the subtle yet profound impact of advocacy within environments governed by protocol and tradition. It highlighted that change often begins with individuals who choose to see beyond the surface and act with empathy. As the evening progressed, Claire announced plans for enhanced training focused on empathy, awareness, and allyship. The staff embraced the initiative, recognizing that fostering a culture of respect required ongoing effort and reflection. Guests observed the evolving dynamics with interest, many inspired to carry these lessons into their own spheres of influence. Conversations about allyship, privilege, and inclusion became threads weaving through the event's tapestry, enriching its purpose. Michelle's presence, marked by quiet strength and openness, served as a catalyst for these dialogues. Her example illuminated the power of resilience coupled with kindness, inviting others to reflect on their roles in creating welcoming spaces. Alex, once a nervous newcomer, now stood with newfound resolve. The evening had transformed from a source of anxiety into a defining moment, an affirmation that attentiveness and courage could foster meaningful change. In the closing hours, as guests prepared to depart, the mood was one of thoughtful optimism. The initial misstep had not defined the event, rather, the response to it had sparked a deeper commitment to recognition and respect. Michelle's interaction with Alex and others underscored a simple yet vital truth, that allyship is an ongoing journey fueled by acts both big and small, grounded in the willingness to listen, learn, and stand alongside one another. As the chandeliers dimmed and the last guests filtered out into the night, the echoes of those conversations lingered, a testament to the power of recognition, empathy, and the courage to act. It was a night marked not just by elegance and protocol, but by the quiet affirmation that true inclusion begins when we choose to see and support one another beyond assumptions and appearances. The evening wore on, the glow from the chandeliers casting delicate patterns across the polished marble floors as conversations deepened, and the initial discomfort of the night's earlier events gradually gave way to a more reflective mood. Yet beneath the surface, tension lingered among some members of the staff, whispers of doubt and defensiveness mingled with the quiet acknowledgments of error. The incident involving Michelle Obama's delayed entry had unsettled the carefully maintained order, prompting a subtle reckoning within the event's inner circles. In a small conference room just off the main hall, a group of senior staff members gathered in hushed discussion. The atmosphere was thick with unease, their faces marked by a mixture of frustration and apprehension. Some questioned the necessity of disrupting established protocols, while others wrestled with the implications of the oversight. It was an honest mistake, one security supervisor insisted, his tone firm yet tinged with defensiveness. We rely on a system designed to prevent exactly these kinds of issues. The guest lists are clear and our descriptions are precise. How could we have known otherwise? Another voice, quieter but no less insistent, countered. Systems are only as good as the people operating them. We can't ignore the role of unconscious bias here, how assumptions about appearance influenced our judgment. The room fell into a tense silence, the weight of that admission settling uneasily among the group. The conversation exposed a fissure between those clinging to the comfort of procedure and those advocating for deeper awareness and change. Meanwhile, Michelle, unaware of the internal debates unfolding behind closed doors, moved gracefully through the event, her every gesture embodying calm and dignity. But beneath her composed exterior, she carried a quiet resolve, a determination to address, even if subtly, the broader issues highlighted by her experience. During a lull in the proceedings, she was approached by Claire, the event coordinator, whose usual poise was momentarily shaken. Mrs. Obama, Claire began carefully, there have been some discussions among the staff about the earlier incident. Some are struggling to understand how it happened and what it means for us all. Michelle regarded her thoughtfully. It's not just about a mistake on a list, she replied gently. It's about the assumptions that shape how we see each other, often without realizing it. Recognizing that is difficult but necessary. Claire nodded, relief mingling with appreciation. I'm trying to help them see that, but it's not easy. Some feel defensive, as if their professionalism is being questioned. That's understandable, Michelle said. Acknowledging unconscious bias isn't an indictment of character. It's an invitation to grow and to ensure that respect is truly extended to everyone. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a senior security officer whose expression was grave. Mrs. Obama, may I have a word? With a polite nod, Michelle followed him to a quieter corner. I want to apologize personally, he said, his voice low and sincere. The way things unfolded was unacceptable. We let assumptions cloud our judgment, and that's something we're committed to addressing. Michelle met his gaze steadily. Apologies mean little without action, she replied. I hope this leads to real change, not just words. He nodded solemnly. It will. Training sessions are being scheduled to address these very issues about perception, bias, and respect. As the evening advanced, the staff's internal tensions played out in subtle ways. Some approached Michelle with newfound respect, eager to learn and to make amends. Others remained guarded, struggling with feelings of shame and resistance. In the main hall, conversations among guests took on a reflective tone. The incident had sparked a ripple effect, prompting discussions about identity, perception, and the importance of awareness in all settings, whether social, professional, or personal. A group of attendees gathered near the grand staircase shared candid thoughts. It's easy to think these things happen elsewhere, not here, one remarked. But the truth is, unconscious bias is everywhere. Recognizing it is the first step to change. Another added, and it's not just about race or status, it's about all the ways we make assumptions that exclude or diminish others. Michelle listened from nearby, her presence a quiet affirmation of these truths. She understood that confronting these issues required patience and persistence, that discomfort was often a necessary precursor to growth. Later, she found herself in a small circle of guests and staff, engaged in a candid dialogue about the challenges of addressing unconscious bias. The conversation was raw and honest, marked by moments of vulnerability and insight. A young staff member shared her struggle. "I never realized how much I relied on first impressions. I thought I was being professional, but now I see how that can cause harm." Michelle responded with empathy. "We all have blind spots. The important thing is to be willing to look for them and to listen when they're pointed out." Another guest reflected, "It's about creating spaces where people feel truly seen and valued, not just on paper, but as whole individuals." The dialogue underscored the complexity of the issue and the collective effort required to foster genuine inclusivity. As the night drew on, Claire gathered her team for a debrief. "Tonight showed us that protocols aren't enough," she said firmly. "We need ongoing training, open conversations, and a commitment to challenge our own assumptions." The team nodded, some with tentative smiles, others with determined expressions. The incident with Michelle Obama had become a catalyst, not just for policy changes but for a shift in mindset. In the quiet moments before the event's close, Michelle took a moment to herself near the grand fireplace. The flickering flames seemed to echo the flicker of hope she felt, that awareness and respect could grow from even the most uncomfortable experiences. Her own journey had taught her the power of grace and resilience, but also the necessity of confronting difficult truths. The evening's events, though challenging, were a reminder that progress often comes through discomfort and reflection. As the final guests departed and the halls emptied, the conversations sparked by the night's incident lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed them. The tension between defensiveness and openness, between denial and acceptance, was a microcosm of a larger societal struggle. Michelle's presence had illuminated that struggle, not with anger or reproach, but with quiet strength and unwavering dignity. Her experience served as a mirror, reflecting the work still to be done and the possibilities that lay ahead. The staff, now more aware and committed, prepared to embark on the necessary journey of transformation. The night had revealed their vulnerabilities, but also their capacity for growth. In the end, the incident was not simply a misstep to be forgotten, but a moment of awakening, an invitation to confront unconscious bias, to embrace humility, and to foster a culture where every individual is truly recognized and respected. The grand hall, once filled with murmurs of uncertainty and cautious reflection, now buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose and recognition. Word had spread swiftly among the guests and staff alike. Michelle Obama, after her initial unintentional exclusion, was finally receiving the respect and admiration befitting her presence. The air shifted palpably as the evening progressed, the earlier tension dissolving into a collective embrace of dignity and grace. As Michelle entered the main ballroom once more, the room seemed to pause, a subtle hush falling over the gathering as eyes turned to her. The gleam of crystal chandeliers mirrored the sparkle in the attendees' gazes, many of whom had witnessed the earlier confusion. Their expressions softened, revealing a mixture of apology and reverence. Among the crowd, whispers rippled like gentle waves. "There she is," one guest murmured, voice tinged with awe. "Her poise is remarkable." Another nodded silently, the unspoken understanding clear. This was a moment of recognition long overdue. Michelle's entrance was met with warm smiles and nods of respect. Staff members who had moments before hesitated now moved briskly to offer assistance, ushering her to a seat of honor near the stage. The shift in demeanor was unmistakable, a testament to the power of presence and the corrective force of genuine acknowledgement. Once settled, Michelle's serene composure radiated throughout the room. Her confidence was quiet but undeniable, a steady beacon amid the elegant surroundings. The evening's program, which had been overshadowed by earlier unease, now regained its rhythm, buoyed by her dignified presence. When the time came for her to address the assembly, Michelle rose gracefully, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of stage lighting. The room fell into attentive silence, every ear drawn to the words of a woman who carried not only the weight of her own experience but the hopes of many. She began with a measured tone, her voice clear and resonant. "Tonight, I stand before you not just as a guest, but as a reminder of the importance of recognition, of seeing one another fully, beyond assumptions and appearances." Her words were deliberate, weaving a narrative that transcended the immediate incident. She spoke of identity and respect, of the human need to be acknowledged in our entirety. Her message was not one of accusation but of invitation, a call to cultivate awareness and empathy. "Recognition," she continued, "is the foundation upon which respect is built. When we fail to see each other clearly, we risk perpetuating divisions that harm us all." It is our shared responsibility to challenge these perceptions and to honor the dignity inherent in every individual. The audience listened, rapt and reflective. Her speech resonated deeply, transforming the earlier discomfort into a collective moment of empowerment. The elegance of the venue, the formality of the occasion all faded into the backdrop as the substance of her message took center stage. Throughout her address, Michelle maintained a balance of strength and humility, her demeanor embodying the grace she advocated. She acknowledged the complexities inherent in recognizing identity, especially within systems steeped in tradition and expectation. Yet she affirmed the necessity of progress. Change begins with awareness, she said softly. It is through understanding our blind spots and confronting our biases that we create spaces where everyone can be seen and valued. Her words sparked a palpable energy in the room. Conversations that had hesitated on the edges of discomfort now found voice, as guests and staff alike felt empowered to engage with the themes she raised. Following her remarks, the applause was warm and sustained, a chorus of appreciation that echoed beyond the walls of the hall. It was not merely applause for a speech well delivered, but for the courage and integrity that Michelle embodied. As the evening unfolded, guests approached her with admiration, sharing their own reflections and commitments to fostering respect in their spheres of influence. Staff members, once burdened by the weight of earlier mistakes, now found renewed purpose in their roles, inspired by the example she set. In the moments between program segments, Michelle engaged with attendees, her interactions marked by genuine interest and kindness. She listened as much as she spoke, creating connections that transcended the formalities of the event. One young attendee, inspired by Michelle's message, confided, "Your words remind me that recognition is more than a gesture, it's a responsibility we all share." Michelle smiled warmly. "Exactly," she replied. "Every encounter is an opportunity to affirm someone's worth. When we do that, we build bridges instead of walls." Her influence extended beyond the immediate gathering. The event's organizers, moved by the impact of her presence and speech, resolved to integrate her message into future initiatives. Plans were set in motion to develop programs that emphasized inclusivity, awareness, and respect across all levels of their operations. Meanwhile, the staff underwent a subtle transformation. The earlier defensiveness gave way to a collective commitment to change, fueled by the realization that their roles encompassed not just security and logistics, but the cultivation of a respectful and welcoming environment. Michelle's integrity and poise had shifted the atmosphere in the room, leaving no doubt that recognition, when offered with sincerity, held the power to heal and inspire. As the event drew toward its conclusion, the sense of unity and purpose was palpable. The narrative had moved beyond a singular incident to encompass a broader vision of empathy and inclusion. In the final moments, Michelle took a seat among the guests, her presence a quiet anchor amid the swirling conversations. The respect she commanded was unmistakable, a reflection of both her personal resilience and the collective awakening she had sparked. The evening's experience lingered in the hearts and minds of those present, a testament to the transformative power of dignity met with acknowledgement. Michelle's journey through the night, from unrecognized guest to honored speaker, had become a living narrative of grace overcoming misunderstanding. Her words echoed a universal truth, that true respect arises when we choose to see each other fully and without prejudice. The applause that followed her speech was more than a ritual. It was a shared promise to carry forward the lessons learned, to judge individuals not by appearance or assumption, but by the content of their character. In that luminous moment, the Grand Hall became more than a venue for celebration. It became a space where recognition was reclaimed, where dignity was restored, and where the seeds of lasting change were sown. Following Michelle Obama's poignant address, the event organizers convened behind closed doors to confront the undeniable truth illuminated by the evening's earlier misstep. The incident, once a source of embarrassment, had sparked a reckoning that extended far beyond the walls of the Grand Hall. It became clear that a commitment to meaningful change was no longer optional but imperative. Claire, the event coordinator, stood at the forefront of this transformation. Her usual composed demeanor now carried a resolute intensity. "We have to acknowledge our failures," she declared to the assembled team of staff and leadership. "This isn't just about one mistake. It's about the culture we foster and the systems we uphold. If we want to prevent this from happening again, we need comprehensive training and a shift in mindset." The room hummed with agreement, a collective recognition that policies and protocols, while necessary, were insufficient on their own. They needed to be coupled with awareness, empathy, and a conscious effort to dismantle unconscious biases. Plans were swiftly drawn up to implement sensitivity and awareness workshops for all staff members. These sessions would focus not only on recognizing guests by name or appearance, but on understanding the deeper layers of identity and the subtle ways prejudice can manifest, even unintentionally. In addition to staff training, the organizers committed to revising their guest verification processes. They sought to incorporate more personal engagement rather than relying solely on checklists and photographs. The goal was to create an environment where every individual felt genuinely seen and respected from the moment they arrived. The decision to publicly address the incident was deliberate and strategic. A carefully crafted statement was released the following day, expressing sincere regret for the oversight and outlining the steps the organization would take to prevent similar occurrences. The message emphasized accountability and transparency, signaling to the public and stakeholders that the event's leadership was committed to fostering inclusivity. The statement quickly garnered attention, drawing both commendation and critical reflection from various quarters. Media outlets highlighted the incident and the subsequent response, sparking broader conversations about identity, respect, and unconscious bias in similar social and professional settings. Social media platforms buzzed with dialogue as individuals shared their own experiences with misrecognition and exclusion. Many praised Michelle's dignified handling of the situation, viewing her response as a catalyst for important discussions. Within the organization, the momentum for change was palpable. Staff members who had previously felt uncertain or defensive now expressed a willingness to engage deeply with the training initiatives. The workshops, led by experts in diversity and inclusion, challenged participants to examine their own perceptions and assumptions. One session featured role-playing exercises designed to simulate scenarios where guests might be misjudged or overlooked. Participants confronted the discomfort of recognizing their biases and learned strategies to respond with greater awareness and empathy. Feedback from these sessions was overwhelmingly positive. Employees reported heightened sensitivity and a renewed commitment to fostering a welcoming atmosphere. The training became a cornerstone of the organization's efforts to redefine its culture. Meanwhile, Michelle's experience resonated beyond the immediate context. Her story was cited in discussions about the importance of recognizing individuals in all their complexity, and it inspired other organizations to reevaluate their own practices. At a follow-up event several months later, the leadership publicly acknowledged the progress made and reiterated their dedication to continuous improvement. They introduced new initiatives, including mentorship programs aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion at all levels. The transformation was not without its challenges. Some staff members struggled with the pace of change, grappling with ingrained habits and institutional inertia. Yet, the collective will to move forward remained strong, buoyed by the example set by Michelle and the clarity of purpose that emerged from the incident. Throughout this period, Michelle maintained a gracious and supportive presence. She engaged with the organization's leadership and staff, offering insights drawn from her own experiences with identity and resilience. Her involvement lent credibility and urgency to the ongoing efforts. Her story became a touchstone, a reminder that recognition is a dynamic process requiring vigilance and intention. It underscored the need for systems that honor not just names and faces but the full humanity of each person. The incident and its aftermath catalyzed a broader cultural shift within the organization, influencing policies, practices, and attitudes. It became a case study in how moments of failure, when met with accountability and reflection, can drive meaningful transformation. Public response to the changes was largely positive, with many expressing hope that such initiatives would ripple outward to other institutions and communities. The narrative evolved from one of exclusion to one of empowerment and growth. As the organization moved forward, the lessons learned became embedded in its identity. Training programs were institutionalized, feedback mechanisms enhanced, and leadership held accountable for sustaining progress. Michelle's dignified response and the organization's commitment to change coalesced into a powerful message that respect and recognition are not static achievements but ongoing endeavors demanding courage, humility, and collective responsibility. The journey was far from over, but the path was clearer. The incident, once a moment of discomfort, had become a catalyst for deeper understanding and a more inclusive future. In the months that followed, stories emerged of other institutions drawing inspiration from this example, initiating their own conversations and reforms. The ripple effect underscored the profound impact that one moment, met with integrity and action, could have on a wider landscape. Within the organization, staff members spoke openly about the shifts in culture, noting improved morale and a stronger sense of community. The commitment to recognizing every individual's dignity had become a guiding principle, shaping interactions and decisions alike. Michelle's involvement remained a beacon, her story a touchstone for the ongoing work of fostering respect and inclusion. Her presence reminded all that the pursuit of equity requires vigilance and grace. The transformation born from a moment of oversight blossomed into a movement, a renewed dedication to seeing and honoring each person fully without assumption or prejudice. As the organization embraced this new chapter, the legacy of that night's experience endured, inspiring continued reflection, growth, and the relentless pursuit of a more equitable and respectful world. The morning after the event, the grand venue stirred with a renewed sense of purpose. The previous night's incident and the subsequent reflection it had sparked led to immediate changes in the protocols governing guest management and event security. Under the watchful eyes of the executive team, the venue embarked on a transformation aimed at fostering genuine inclusivity and respect from the moment any guest arrived. First among the reforms was a comprehensive overhaul of the guest identification process. The rigid reliance on printed lists and physical descriptions was replaced with a system that prioritized personal engagement. A dedicated team was established to personally welcome guests, trained not only in security procedures but in cultural competency and sensitivity. Their role was to ensure that recognition went beyond a name on a paper. It was about seeing the person behind the invitation. This team underwent rigorous training sessions designed by leading experts in diversity and inclusion. The curriculum emphasized the importance of unconscious bias awareness, teaching staff to recognize and challenge their own assumptions. Through interactive workshops, simulations, and open discussions, the staff cultivated skills to approach each guest with attentiveness and respect, regardless of appearance or background. The venue also introduced a guest recognition liaison role, individuals assigned to high-profile or sensitive guests to provide personalized assistance and oversight. This position was created to prevent any future missteps like the one that had occurred with Michelle Obama, ensuring that every guest was acknowledged promptly and appropriately. In addition to procedural changes, the venue committed to fostering an inclusive culture through ongoing education. Quarterly sensitivity training became mandatory, reinforcing the values of empathy, respect, and awareness throughout the organization. Staff feedback mechanisms were enhanced, encouraging open dialogue about challenges and opportunities in creating welcoming environments. The leadership team, led by Claire and the security chief, took a hands-on approach, regularly participating in training sessions alongside staff to demonstrate their commitment. Their visibility and accountability sent a clear message that inclusivity was not merely a policy but a core value woven into the venue's identity. Beyond staff training, the venue implemented visible signage and communication materials that emphasized respect and inclusivity. These subtle cues served as reminders to both staff and guests of the collective responsibility to uphold a culture of recognition and dignity. The impact of these changes was immediate and profound. Guests reported a warmer, more attentive welcome from the moment they arrived. The personalized approach to recognition fostered a sense of belonging, transforming the atmosphere from one of formality to genuine hospitality. Staff members, empowered by their training and leadership support, expressed increased confidence in their roles. They embraced the responsibility to see beyond surface appearances and to engage with guests as whole individuals. This shift not only improved guest experiences but also enhanced team cohesion and morale. The venue's transformation extended to its policies on event planning and execution. Inclusivity considerations became integral from the outset, influencing everything from guest selection and seating arrangements to programming and communication strategies. This holistic approach ensured that respect and awareness permeated every facet of the venue's operations. As these new protocols took root, the venue began to garner attention as a leader in inclusive event management. Industry peers sought to learn from its example, initiating dialogues about best practices and the importance of intentional recognition in high-profile settings. Michelle Obama's experience remained a pivotal reference point in these discussions. Her grace and the organization's response exemplified how setbacks could be catalysts for meaningful change when met with accountability and commitment. Months later, during a follow-up event held at the same venue, the atmosphere was markedly transformed. The staff greeted guests with genuine warmth and attentiveness, personal liaisons ensuring seamless and respectful experiences. The earlier misstep was nowhere evident in the smooth flow of arrivals and interactions. Claire, observing the event's success, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey from oversight to transformation had been challenging but necessary. "We've built something stronger," she reflected. "Not just protocols, but a culture that honors every person's dignity." The venue's dedication to inclusivity extended beyond its doors. Partnerships with community organizations and advocacy groups were established to promote awareness and education across the broader event management industry. Staff members who had once struggled with the weight of the earlier incident now became ambassadors of change, sharing their experiences and encouraging others to embrace the principles of empathy and respect. The tangible outcomes of these efforts were evident in guest feedback, which highlighted the warmth, attentiveness, and genuine recognition experienced throughout each event. The venue's reputation blossomed, attracting a diverse array of clients committed to inclusive excellence. Leadership recognized that the work was ongoing. Plans were made to review and update training materials regularly, incorporating emerging research and guest insights. The commitment to fostering a culture of respect was embedded as a continuous journey rather than a finite goal. In quiet moments, Claire often thought back to the night when Michelle Obama had arrived and been momentarily overlooked. That incident, once a source of embarrassment, had become the catalyst for profound growth. It reminded everyone involved that recognition is not a mere formality but a fundamental human need. The venue's evolution stood as a testament to the power of reflection, accountability, and intentional action. By embracing these principles, it had transformed from a place of rigid protocol into a space where every guest is genuinely seen, valued, and respected. As the chandeliers cast their warm glow over the bustling venue, the staff moved with renewed purpose, embodying the lessons learned. Each greeting, each gesture, was infused with the understanding that recognition transcends appearances. It is the heart of true hospitality. The journey continued, but the path was clear. To foster an environment where inclusion is lived daily, where dignity is never compromised, and where every person's presence is honored with unwavering respect. In the months that followed, Michelle Obama's experience at the event blossomed into a symbol far greater than the moment it had initially occupied. Invitations poured in for her to speak on stages around the world, not only to share her own story but to ignite broader conversations about recognition, dignity, and the pervasive impact of unconscious bias. At a prominent global leadership summit, Michelle took the stage with the same composed grace that had defined her presence at the Grand Hall months earlier. The room was filled with influential figures from politics, business, and civil society, all eager to hear her insights on the complex dynamics of identity and respect. Her voice, steady and resonant, filled the auditorium as she began. In every corner of our world, people yearn to be seen, not just as names or titles, but as whole, complex individuals worthy of dignity and respect, she said. Recognition is not a privilege reserved for a few, it is a fundamental human right. She recounted the incident, the initial moment of exclusion, the subsequent realization by the event staff, and the transformations that followed. But her focus was not on the discomfort she had endured, rather, it was on the lessons that emerged and the collective responsibility to foster inclusion. When we allow assumptions to dictate how we see others, we risk perpetuating harm, division, and misunderstanding, Michelle continued. But when we choose awareness over ignorance, empathy over judgment, we open the door to genuine connection and equity. Her message resonated deeply with the audience. She challenged leaders to reflect on their own environments, corporate boardrooms, community organizations, educational institutions, and to ask themselves whether every individual was truly seen and valued. Change begins with intention, she emphasized. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our systems. It demands vigilance, humility, and the courage to act. Throughout her speech, Michelle wove personal anecdotes with broader social analysis, painting a vivid picture of how recognition, or the lack thereof, shapes lives and opportunities. She highlighted stories from diverse communities, illustrating the universal nature of the desire to be acknowledged fully. The applause that followed was thunderous, a collective affirmation of her call to action. But beyond the immediate ovation, her words sparked a ripple effect, conversations ignited in boardrooms, classrooms, and homes about the subtle yet profound ways bias influences interaction. In the weeks that followed, organizations reached out to Michelle, eager to collaborate on initiatives aimed at embedding respect and recognition into their cultures. Workshops, leadership training, and policy reforms took root, guided by the principles she articulated. Michelle's story became a beacon for those striving to dismantle barriers and cultivate environments where diversity was not only accepted but celebrated. Her emphasis on dignity transcended identity categories, advocating for a humanity that embraces complexity and rejects reduction. At community forums and educational settings, her message inspired individuals to examine their own experiences with being seen or overlooked and to commit to fostering empathy in their spheres of influence. The narrative of grace overcoming misunderstanding resonated across generations, empowering both those who had faced exclusion and those seeking to be better allies. Through interviews and public dialogues, Michelle continued to challenge audiences to move beyond passive acknowledgement toward active inclusion. She underscored that respect is not merely about words but about consistent actions that affirm each person's worth. Her journey, marked by resilience and quiet strength, illuminated the path for others to reclaim their dignity and advocate for justice. She became a living testament to the power of presence, the ability to transform moments of marginalization into catalysts for change. As the movement grew, stories emerged of individuals and organizations adopting new practices inspired by Michelle's example. Training programs were developed to address unconscious bias, mentorship initiatives flourished, and policies were crafted to ensure equitable treatment. Michelle's narrative was woven into curricula, leadership seminars, and cultural dialogues, becoming an enduring resource for those committed to justice and inclusion. The resonance of her experience was evident not only in institutions but in everyday interactions, people pausing to question assumptions, choosing empathy over judgment, and affirming the dignity of those around them. At a culminating event celebrating the progress inspired by her story, Michelle stood once again before a diverse audience. Her voice carried the weight of experience and hope as she articulated a vision for a more just and compassionate world. Let us judge one another not by the color of our skin, the titles we hold, or the appearances we present, but by the content of our character and the kindness of our actions, she declared. In doing so, we honor the humanity that binds us all. The standing ovation that followed was more than applause, it was a collective vow, a shared commitment to carry forward the lessons learned and to build spaces where every person is truly seen and valued. Michelle's journey, from a moment of overlooked presence to a symbol of transformative grace, had become a powerful movement. It reminded the world that recognition is both a right and a responsibility, one that demands vigilance, courage, and compassion. Her story continues to inspire countless individuals to reflect on their own experiences with discrimination and to join the ongoing fight for a fairer, more inclusive world, one where dignity transcends all barriers and where every voice is heard. Every face is seen and every soul is honored.